You see, there comes a time in every person's life when they have to stop looking outward and start looking inward. When you stop asking, why did this happen to me, and start asking, what can I do about it now? That's when the shift begins. That's when growth begins. Working on yourself isn't a glamorous decision. It's not always pretty, and it certainly isn't easy. But it begins with one brave, quiet moment where you choose to take ownership of your life. Not the filtered version of it, not the highlight reel, all of it. The good, the bad, the broken, the beautiful, you claim it all. Because until you own your story, it will own you. The truth is, we all carry things we didn't ask for. Maybe someone failed you, hurt you, walked away from you, or maybe life just dealt you a difficult hand. But hear this clearly. What happened to you may not be your fault, but healing from it, that's your responsibility. That's the beginning of real power. When you stop waiting for someone else to change, to apologize, to give you closure. When you decide, I don't need anyone else to set me free. I'm choosing freedom for myself. See, you can't move forward if you're still stuck in blame. Blame keeps you bound to the past. It robs you of your ability to change the present. Taking ownership doesn't mean you ignore what hurt you. It means you no longer give it the authority to control what comes next. You shift the narrative. You stop saying, they made me this way, and start declaring, but I won't stay this way. Now, some people will try to tell you that circumstances define you, that if you come from pain, you'll only create pain. But that's a lie. You don't have to become what tried to break you. You don't have to inherit dysfunction just because you were born into it. The moment you decide to take ownership of your life, you step into a new identity, not as a victim, but as a warrior. You stop living in reaction to the world and start creating from within. And it won't happen overnight. There will be days when you feel like you're standing still, days when the old habits pull at you, when doubt whispers in your ear. But don't give up. That resistance you're feeling, it's not a sign to stop. It's a sign you're finally doing something that matters. The hardest work you'll ever do is the work on yourself, but it's also the most rewarding, because once you begin, everything else starts to shift. Your relationships, your mindset, your decisions, they all begin to align with who you're becoming, not who you've been. You want to know what real freedom is? It's knowing that your past doesn't get the final word, that your future doesn't have to look like your history, that you can choose right here, right now, to take the pen back and start writing a new chapter. One decision at a time. You're not powerless. You never were. And the moment you stop waiting for someone else to come and fix what's broken, that's the moment you step into your true strength. Don't run from your life. Step into it. Own it. Shape it. Because the world doesn't need another copy of someone else. It needs the real you, rising from the ashes, ready to begin again. There's something powerful, something deeply human, about the parts of ourselves we don't talk about. The quiet pain, the hidden scars, the moments we buried so deep we almost forgot they were there. Almost. But not quite. Because the truth is, the things we hide don't disappear. They echo in the background. They whisper into our decisions. They show up in how we treat others, in how we treat ourselves. And if we don't heal what we hide, we end up living in a world built around our wounds. Now, working on yourself doesn't just mean reading books or going to the gym or building new habits. All that's good, but the real work, it's deeper. It's about having the courage to turn inward and ask, what have I been running from? It's in those moments, when everything gets quiet, that the real healing begins. And it's not about being perfect or having it all figured out. It's about being honest with yourself, brave enough to face the things that hurt, strong enough to sit with them without letting them define you. You see, pain that is not transformed will always be transmitted. It'll leak into your relationships, into your choices, into your self-worth. You might not even realize it at first. You just think, that's just the way I am. But what if it's not who you are? What if it's who you became to survive? That version of you, guarded, distant, angry, numb, served a purpose. It protected you when you needed it. But now, it's time to stop surviving and start living. And living requires healing. And healing, that's not linear. It's not clean or quick. It's messy. Some days you'll feel like you've conquered the mountain, other days like you've fallen right back to where you started. But that's all part of the process. You're not going backward. You're learning how to carry yourself through the hard days. You're learning to feel without falling apart, to remember without reliving, to forgive, not just others, but yourself too. Because maybe, just maybe, you've been a little too hard on yourself. Maybe you've been carrying guilt that was never yours to begin with. Maybe the shame you've been hiding is actually a story waiting to be rewritten. The truth is, the things we suppress only gain power in the dark. But when you bring them into the light, when you speak them, face them, feel them, they lose their grip on you. That's how healing works. It doesn't change the past, but it frees you from reliving it. It gives you your power back. It reminds you that broken isn't the end of your story, it's the place where your story can begin again. And I know it's not easy. Facing your pain is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. But I promise you it's worth it. Because what's waiting on the other side is freedom. Real, deep, lasting freedom. Not the kind that comes from pretending you're okay, but the kind that comes from finally being okay with not being okay and choosing to keep going anyway. So don't be afraid to heal what you hide, because the strongest version of you isn't the one who pretends nothing happened. It's the one who walks through the fire and comes out with grace, not untouched, but transformed. People talk a lot about motivation, like it's some magical force that's supposed to carry you through every challenge. They wait for it like the right song on the radio, like a spark that'll suddenly light up their whole life. But let me tell you something most won't. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the wind. One moment it lifts you up, the next it vanishes, and you're left staring at a mountain with nothing in your tank. That's where discipline steps in. Discipline is what shows up when motivation goes silent. It's not flashy. It doesn't cheer for you. It doesn't care how you feel. Discipline is that quiet decision you make every single day to keep going. Not because you feel like it, but because you know why you started. It's the promise you make to yourself in the dark, when no one's watching and no one's clapping. And it's what builds a life worth living. You don't rise by accident. You rise by consistency, by choosing to do the hard thing when it's the last thing you want to do. Think about it. How many dreams have died waiting on the right time or the right mood? How many times have we told ourselves, I'll start tomorrow, just to let tomorrow turn into next week, next month, next year? You don't need more motivation. You need a standard, a commitment. You need to build something in you that doesn't flinch when life gets hard. You see, discipline isn't punishment. It's self-respect. It's knowing you are worth the effort, that your future deserves the best of you, not just the most comfortable version of you. And I know it's tough. There will be days when your mind tells you to quit, when your body feels heavy, when the world says, take it easy. But you've got to remember, ease is the enemy of growth. You weren't made to live a life of convenience. You were made to stretch, to struggle, to rise. Now, discipline doesn't mean you never rest. It means you rest with purpose. You don't stop because it's hard. You stop to recover, to regroup, and then you keep moving. That's the difference. People who rely on motivation quit when the feeling fades. People who've built discipline keep showing up. Rain or shine, joy or pain, doubt or faith, they do the work even when it's quiet, even when it's lonely, even when the results take time. And here's the secret. Over time, discipline becomes who you are. It stops being something you force and starts being something you embody. You begin to crave progress more than comfort. You start respecting your path more than your feelings. And suddenly you realize you don't need to be constantly inspired to do something great. You just need to be committed. So if you're waiting for a sign, for some perfect wave of motivation to crash over you, let this be it. Stop waiting. Start building. Lay a brick every day, even when it's heavy, even when it's slow. Because it's not the fire that keeps you going, it's the foundation you build beneath it. And when the dust settles and the noise fades, and you stand at the edge of everything you've become, you'll realize something powerful. You didn't need the spark. You became the flame. Comfort is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. It feels good, doesn't it? To stay where things are familiar, where there are no risks, no real fear, no pressure. You know the routine, the expectations, the outcomes. But here's the truth that most folks don't want to face. Staying comfortable might keep you safe, but it also keeps you small. Growth demands something more. It demands that you leave the shore, that you walk into the unknown, that you dare to believe there's more to you than what you've already lived. And that's scary. Because growth means stepping into discomfort. It means walking through uncertainty with no guarantees. It means facing your limitations head on and deciding to break through them anyway. You see, we're wired to seek ease. We like the predictable, we crave the familiar, but the life you're meant to live, it's just outside of what you're used to. It doesn't live in the place where you feel most at ease. It lives in the stretch, in the strain, in the tension between who you are and who you're becoming. There's a moment in every journey when you're offered two paths, the easy one and the one that changes you. The easy path lets you keep your excuses, your doubts, your habits. The other path demands your transformation. It asks more of you, more focus, more effort, more faith. But in return, it gives you back more than you ever thought possible. Now let's be honest. Growth isn't glamorous. It's messy. It's full of setbacks. Sometimes it looks like waking up early when you'd rather sleep. Sometimes it feels like walking into a room and not knowing what you're doing, but showing up anyway. Growth is uncomfortable because it asks you to become someone you haven't met yet. It stretches your mind, your heart, your spirit. And that process, that's where the power is. And not everyone will understand it. Some people around you will want you to stay the same because your growth challenges their comfort. That's okay, let them stay. But don't you stop. Don't you shrink to fit the mold someone else gave you. You weren't meant to stay small. You weren't meant to play safe. You were meant to rise, to reach, to become. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you tell the world, I believe in something bigger than my fear. You say, I'm not settling for what's easy. I'm reaching for what's true. And there's something extraordinary about that. Because over time, discomfort becomes a signal not of danger, but of progress. You learn to see the resistance as a sign you're exactly where you need to be, in motion, in development, in the making. The more you stretch, the more you find out who you really are, not the version of you that plays it safe, but the one that's willing to risk, to fail, to try again. That version, that's the real you. And every single day you choose growth, you get closer to becoming that version. Stronger, wiser, more alive. So when the moment comes, and it always does, when you have to decide between staying comfortable or stepping forward, I hope you remember this. Comfort might feel good for a while, but it will never satisfy a soul that was made to grow. You can be doing all the inner work, reading the books, showing up for yourself, pushing through the pain. But if you're surrounded by the wrong people, they can pull you right back into the place you're trying to leave behind. The truth is, who you keep close matters, more than you think, because we become like the people we spend the most time with. Their energy, their mindset, their standards, they shape ours, whether we realize it or not. It's not just about finding people who are nice or fun to be around. It's about being around people who push you, people who speak life into you, people who don't let you stay stuck. You need people who remind you who you are when you forget, people who challenge you to rise when you start to settle. Not everyone will understand your vision. Not everyone will support your growth, and that's okay. You don't need a crowd. You need a circle, a solid one. Think about this. When you're climbing, you don't tie your rope to someone who's heading back down. You need people who are climbing too, maybe not at the same pace, maybe not in the same way, but they're moving, they're growing, they're committed to becoming. That shared commitment, that hunger for better, that's what creates a powerful environment for change. And don't be fooled by appearances. Some of the loudest voices offer the least value. Some of the people with the most opinions have done the least healing. Don't let noise distract you from wisdom. Seek out those who've been through the fire and still have grace in their voice. People who don't just preach strength, but live it. Who know what it means to struggle, to stumble, and still stand. It's not about perfection, it's about intention. Are the people around you intentional about their growth, their peace, their purpose? Because if they're not, they'll start resenting yours. You can't grow in a space that punishes your evolution. And sometimes, the hardest part of working on yourself is realizing you've outgrown the company you once kept. That doesn't make you arrogant, it makes you aware. And awareness is part of maturity. There's a difference between being loyal and being stuck. Some people were part of your story, but not your destiny. Letting go doesn't mean you don't love them. It means you love yourself enough to protect your future. You're not walking away out of bitterness. You're walking forward out of purpose. And when you do find those people, the ones who see your potential even when you don't, who celebrate your wins, hold you accountable, and remind you of your why, hold on to them. They are rare. Build each other, grow together, encourage each other when it's hard, because iron sharpens iron. And when your environment is aligned with your purpose, it becomes a catalyst for transformation. You were never meant to do this alone. Even the strongest need support. Even the driven need direction. Surround yourself with people who won't let you settle for anything less than who you were created to be, because the right people won't just walk with you. They'll help you remember that you were born to run. Sometimes, the hardest part of the journey is not the weight you carry or the mountains you climb. It's the waiting, the slow progress, the days that feel like nothing is changing, even though you're trying with everything you've got. And in those quiet stretches, it's easy to wonder, is it even working? Is anything I'm doing actually making a difference? But growth doesn't always make noise. Sometimes the most powerful transformations happen in silence, under the surface, out of sight, just like seeds in the ground. They take time. They don't sprout the moment you plant them. They need darkness, stillness, consistency, and trust. That's how life works. That's how healing works. That's how purpose unfolds. You see, we live in a world addicted to speed, instant results, overnight success. We want the reward without the waiting, but real growth doesn't come wrapped in a timeline. It doesn't rush to impress anyone. It takes the time it needs to build something real, something that lasts. And that's what you're doing when you work on yourself. You're laying down new foundations, slowly, intentionally, even when it feels like nothing's happening. But just because you can't see the change doesn't mean the change isn't happening. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, every time you say no to who you used to be and yes to who you're becoming, every time you show up when it would be easier to quit, that's the process at work. Quiet, steady, unshakable. You don't have to feel like you're making progress every second. You just have to trust that every step forward counts. That even the small efforts, the 5 extra minutes of focus, the honest conversation with yourself, the decision to start again, those are building something. You are becoming someone. And that becoming, that's sacred work. And yes, it gets frustrating when others seem to be racing ahead while you feel stuck in the slow lane, when life doesn't move according to your plan, but comparison will rob you of your peace. Don't measure your growth by someone else's timeline. Your journey is yours, and it's not on delay, it's on design. Maybe you're being prepared for something greater than you imagine. Maybe the pause isn't punishment, it's protection, it's preparation. Trust isn't just believing that things will work out the way you want. It's believing that even if they don't, you'll still become who you're meant to be. And when you trust the process, you stop rushing the moment. You start respecting the pace of your own becoming. Keep showing up, keep planting the seeds, keep doing the work, because slow progress is still progress. Healing takes time. Reinventing yourself takes time. Learning how to love yourself, forgive yourself, believe in yourself, it all takes time. And every bit of that time is worth it. There will come a day when you look back and realize just how far you've come. You won't remember every small step, every silent breakthrough, but they're the reason you made it. So, don't rush the process. Don't resent the pace. Just keep walking, keep becoming, because even slow steps forward still leave footprints. When you make the decision to work on yourself, you're not just changing habits, you're changing your life from the inside out. You're taking ownership of your story, healing what's been hidden, choosing discipline when motivation fades, stepping into discomfort because you know that's where growth lives. Surrounding yourself with people who lift you higher and learning to trust the process even when it's painfully slow. This journey is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming who you were always meant to be. And that kind of transformation doesn't happen all at once. It happens day by day, choice by choice, moment by moment. Some days will feel heavy, others will feel like breakthrough. But every single step you take in the direction of your better self, it counts. So keep going, keep showing up, keep doing the quiet, courageous work. Because when you work on yourself, you don't just change your life. You become the kind of person who inspires others to change theirs too. And that, right there, is how you rise.